Welcome and thank you for standing by. All participants are in listen-only mode for the duration of today's conference. Today's call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the call over to your host, Stephanie Watson from the U.S. Census Bureau. Stephanie, you may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Watson, and I'm the Diversity and Inclusion Officer for the United States Census Bureau. On behalf of the Office of the Deputy Director and the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, Diversity and Inclusion, and all of my colleagues at the Census Bureau, we welcome you to our 2022 Virtual University and College Summit. Now, at this time, I want to introduce our Director for opening remarks. Robert L. Santos is the 26th Director of the U.S. Census Bureau. He was sworn in on January the 5th, 2022. Director Santos' career spans more than 40 years in survey research, statistical design and analysis, and executive level management. He previously served for 15 years as Vice President and Chief Methodologist at the Urban Institute and directed its Statistical Methods Group. He was Executive Vice President and partner of New Stats, a social science research firm in Austin, Texas. Director Santos was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. He graduated from high school at Holy Cross of San Antonio. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics from Trinity University in San Antonio and a Master of Arts in Statistics from the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. Director Santos.
Well, greetings, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many students and graduates attending this virtual summit. We're here today to help open your eyes to rewarding and impactful careers and career opportunities at the Census Bureau. You know, I've always seen the Census Bureau as the crown jewel of the federal statistical system, much like NIH is with medical research. We do so much, and everyone here is so proud of the work they do that I can't wait to tell you about some of the cool stuff. So let's get started. Yes, we conduct decennial censuses. They are by far our largest and most visible project. Including the planning, it takes 12 years or more to complete a single decennial census. On top of that, the decennial population census is explicitly written into our U.S. Constitution. You can't imagine how amazing and fulfilling it is to know that working on a census means that you are literally living our Constitution and nurturing our democracy in the process. But wait, there's more. You may not realize it, but the U.S. Census Bureau conducts two other really important censuses, and these are done every 5 years. The first is a census of the nation's businesses called the Economic Census. It should be launching later this year, I believe. And the other is the Census of Governments that collects information on all state and local governments in our country down to the school district level. So we do censuses of people, businesses, and governments. Besides these censuses, we conduct well over 100 national surveys annually on all kinds of topics. So let me give you a taste. Some of our surveys focus on housing, crime, employment, health, household expenses, education, energy, time use, retail trade, truck usage, even fishing and hunting. And of course, there's our flagship American Community Survey that's used extensively for economic development, commerce, policymaking, research, and for many, many other things. Taken as a whole, these surveys offer a panoramic portrait of society in the United States. We want to know how long it takes to drive to work in your area? We've got a stat for that. Want to know how much crime goes unreported? We have a stat for that. Want to know how many folks with bachelor's degrees found full-time jobs after graduation? We have stats for that too. Want to know how much on average we spend on candy bars and chewing gum per week? Yep, we've got stats for that. Want to know how many people photograph wildlife around their homes as a hobby? Yep, we have a survey and a stats for that too. And I could go on and on and on. Now, the Census Bureau portfolio transcends the collection and processing of data. We also conduct lots of research to make sure we're capturing accurate and relevant information. This means we maintain a rather large interdisciplinary research enterprise that includes such areas as economic research and modeling, mathematical statistics, data science, including AI and machine learning, research in cognitive psychology, demography and the social sciences, data visualization, geography, even research using satellite imagery. We also have opportunities in cybersecurity, data privacy, finance, contracting, accounting, HR communications, web design, and many other areas. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The bottom line is that we're the nation's premier statistical organization, and our work is critical to helping the public better understand our country, its population, its resources, its economy, society, and our culture. And as a valued member of the census team, you'd help weave together the data fabric into our rich tapestry that reveals who we are as a nation. As for me, I started the Census Bureau just this January when I was, sworn in as the 26th director, and I'm also the Census Bureau's first Latino director. My professional journey actually involved community college. I attended San Antonio Community College before Trinity University of the University of Michigan. I now, looking back, have over 40 years of research and data collection experience. And as I tell everyone, my two big passions are statistics and helping people. The Census Bureau gives me a chance to pursue both, and it'll give you a chance to pursue your passions as well. Over my professional career, I've learned that innovation, creativity, and critical thinking are central to maintaining excellence in any field of work. You should absolutely learn the technical content and methods of research analysis that are in your degree programs, but never leave your brain in the parking lot. When it comes to research, technical knowledge and applying methods alone can lead to misleading results. You need to develop your critical thinking skills and infuse them with your life experience, your culture, and your values. They represent a rich reservoir that we all possess, but we seldom leverage those as a resource in work or even in life. There have been too many times when I tapped my life experience and culture to help researchers realize that they were defining a problem in a little biased fashion, or were incorrectly interpreting data analysis that really required community member perspectives in order to get it right. You need such enhanced critical thinking to uncover truly effective, culturally relevant, actionable insights from research. At the Census Bureau, we want and we need to hear everyone's distinct voices and experiences. We'd love to hear yours as well. So I hope you will consider bringing your voice and life experience to the Census Bureau. We need you, and our country needs you. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Director Santos, for those inspiring words. I know I'm excited to be here. The Census Bureau is a great place to work with a lot of talented, dedicated employees and many opportunities. Each one of our speakers today ventured down different educational and career paths, and we all found our way back to the Census Bureau. By sharing a little bit about ourselves, resources available to each of you, we encourage you to visit census.gov, our website, to learn more about us and the work we do. And as Director Santos said, to consider joining our team. To be the best, we have to continue to attract the dreamers, the innovators, and the doers. And so with that being said, I would like to introduce our panel. Carlos Lacosta, Paul, Walter, and Johanna. So please feel free to turn on your cameras And I'd like you all to introduce yourselves, please. Say your name, you know, where you went to school, what degree you graduated with, what your current position is.
My name is
And
Walter
Director
Hunter.
Santos, please, I want to welcome Director Santos to be a part of the conversation. Please keep your camera on. As long as we have you, we want you to be here. Please go ahead, Walter.
My name is Walter Hunter. I graduated from State University in Baltimore, Maryland, with a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics. I spent 11 years as a military officer in the United States Army. I came to the Bureau first as a temporary employee for the 1990 Decennial Census, which led me to my current position as a supervisor in economic manufacturing, mining, and construction statistics. And I've been at the Bureau over 35 years. And I enjoy the work-life balance that the Bureau allows people to have.
Thank you, Walter. Carlos?
You're welcome.
Sure. Hey, everybody. How exciting is this? I am so pumped about this event. So good job, Stephanie and Director Santos, for putting this on. So my name is Carlos Lacosta. I'm the Chief of Staff of the Finance Division and also the Senior Advisor to the Deputy CFO. I went to school at Stereo University and achieved a Master's in Business Administration with a concentration in international business. And prior to my government experience, which is about 12 years now, I had a small business. Actually, I had two. And I said that if I would ever work for the government, I'd only work for the Department of Commerce. And in 2008, I was lucky enough to get a call from the Census Bureau, and it's been awesome. So that's it.
Thank you, Carlos. Johanna?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Johanna DeBas. I work in the Economic Indicator Division. Currently, I am on a detail assignment with the OCFO, Chief of Financial Officer, as a program analyst, and I graduated from Bowie State University. I've been at the Census Bureau for 6 years now. Very, very, very exciting place. I went to Census right after I graduated college, so I welcome each and every one of you.
And Paul?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So I started with the Census Bureau in 2008, originally from San Antonio, Texas, a graduate of University of Texas, San Antonio. Actually came from the Census Bureau after a brief career of teaching through an internship program with FAQs. And I was able to, to leverage that into something permanent. And from there, not only did I support the 2010 census and the 2020 census, I also supported the economic as well as the census of the governments during my time here. I'm currently the section chief in the Freedom of Information Act office.
Thank you, Paul. And we're going to kick the questioning off with you because I know I also came to the Census Bureau to the federal government as an intern. And I know you also mentioned your internship experience. So can you share with the folks on the call, like what your internship was about? How did you find the internship? How did you become an intern?
Sure. So after a brief career of teaching, when I was in your shoes, I was actually on the way to become a teacher, and where I was a teacher, I was an elementary math and science teacher in Houston, and I felt that it was time to move on, and I actually went back to college. So when I was in college, I was actually in the computer lab, and this is again 2008. I don't even know if they still have those, but I was in the computer lab, and there was a sign that actually said, "Would you like to internship? Would you like to intern with the Census Bureau?" So I applied for the internship through FAQs, Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. I was then an employee of FAQs while I was interning here at the Census Bureau. And I will say that it was an extremely valuable experience because I was not the traditional intern. Again, I had a profession before this, and I went back to college, didn't know what to do. Thought I would be able to leverage my ability, my classroom ability of math and science with the Census Bureau. It made sense, scientific agency. And I was actually here to support the Census in Schools program in 2008. It has a new name now, Statistics in Schools. But yeah, it was a great experience, great opportunity. And the path hasn't been a linear path. It's been all over the place. So I've enjoyed my time at the Bureau.
Thank you, Paul. So Johanna, you mentioned that you've been at Census for about 6 years. So you're almost fresh out of school. I mean, when I look at myself, I've been out for a few years myself. Sometimes it's hard making the transition from college to a professional career, especially the federal government. It's not so easy getting into the federal government. Can you maybe share with people a little bit about your experience? I mean, you know, I guess one of the questions is, how did college prepare you for your federal career, and how did you find your way to Census?
Sure. So honestly, my mentor, my advisor, I give a lot of gratitude to them. So if you possibly can, please go out, find a mentor that you can relate to, an advisor you can relate to. I still keep in touch with them right now, 6 years later. We still email each other, we still text each other from time to time. And those career day or career fair, please attend to those. I actually met someone from Census Bureau at the career fair that I attended when I was a junior in college. And I asked him, I said, well, how can I get in? How can I get in? I've always had passion for economics. I've always had passion for statistics. And I asked him, how can I get in? He said, honestly, it's tough, you know, it's tough. And that kind of made me a little nervous, right? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. I applied. Everything honestly worked out very perfectly for me. I know a lot of my peers, it didn't, but they kept trying. I know some of my friends that applied to 30 jobs on USA Jobs. Please do not get discouraged. Keep going. Keep going. If you don't get that position, it's okay. Try for the next one and keep on going. So again, to relate back, please have that mentor, that advisor you can relate to, and keep in contact with them even after, you know, you get that position that you're looking for.
Thank you, Johanna. Walter, I'd like to transition to you because I know being a college student, all of us had the experience of when you took a class, like, how is this class going to actually help me when I graduate from school and become a real adult? And so a question for you is, you know, what was the most important thing that you got out of college that you actually utilize in your career?
The most important thing
Especially given
I
your
got out of college was I was on a military drill team, and it taught me teamwork. The math portion I use every day, but it's not one of those teamwork aspect from being on a military drill team in the ROTC and being an officer in the United States Army has helped me work with people of diverse interests and communicate with them to get my message out and to help get the job done where everybody is participating and feels important. And that's the biggest thing here at the Bureau. Okay, thank you.
No, please continue. Please continue. Here at the Bureau, finish your thought, please.
Okay. Here at the Bureau, there's the attitude that everybody's important. We want people to continue their education. We foster that. We like new ideas. We're not afraid of new ideas. We try them out to make our products better, to get faster and more efficient with our data and release of our data so that the public has a good product they can use to make their political and personal choices. So, like I said, when I first came in, the work-life balance here has always been a good asset. Our supervisors and our leaders, if you need something, you just ask, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it, or you're going to get some help. We have different parts of the agency that we got a healthcare, we have financial help. We have a Census Bureau welfare where you can go rent tents and skis and things like that. So if you want to go out and have some fun, so it's not all work. There's some enjoyment, and we enjoy getting together. The pandemic kind of slowed that down, but the people I work with, we like getting together, and we try to get together virtually as much as we can to enjoy each other's company and share ideas. So the main thing is here is the team, and we work as teams, and we get the job done. It's just
Thank you.
of being in the Bureau right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. I mean, I think you said something really important, you know, being on a team, having the support, being in like a family environment. But I know some of us don't always have that. You know, some of us are discouraged along the path. And so, you know, I'd like Carlos to speak to this. I mean, did you ever have anyone discourage you, family member, friend, professor, you know, anyone in your professional advancement that discouraged you from pursuing something that you were passionate about? Because where we're here now and we have a supportive environment, sometimes it takes folks a little bit longer to get here.
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. Yes, of course, and not only in work, but in life in general. Of course, you have your naysayers, you know, and you just have to, what I've kind of learned is, you know, use your active listening skills. Talk to as many people as you can to learn from their experiences. And you take little nuggets from each person and you apply them to what you want to do, right? So, you know, there could be, you know, instances where people try to project their self-portrait, right, onto you, but just be sure to continue on doing what you want to do. And I think that will help you move forward. So yes, of course, within, you know, school, you know, teachers tell me that you're probably not going to make it, but maybe more motivated to get my math, right? I've had a couple experiences, but, you know, in a place now where you have so much social media and people, you know, display everything they do, it's easy for others to kind of make judgments upon others. But I think you should just really don't take that to heart. Continue on your path. Stick to what you know, to your true self. And yeah, that would be my advice.
Thank you, Carlos. And I'd like to invite the director. I mean, Director Santos, you've had a tremendous career. You started off at community college, went to college. You're our first Latino director of the Census Bureau. I think that you probably can share words of wisdom with us about dealing with naysayers.
Yeah, I actually certainly can. I almost didn't go to college because I thought that you could graduate high school and then in the summer apply to colleges and universities and then go in the fall. So that's how I ended up in community college, because I literally had no other choice, even though I graduated third in my class type of thing. But interestingly, all of the messages heard here really resonate with me, because it's a lot about what you do with your brain, not even necessarily what degree you have. It's your critical thinking and being yourself and having the desire. In Spanish, we call it ganas. You got to have the desire to persevere and keep going. When I took my graduate record exams to go to grad school, I absolutely wanted to be, you know, a math professor. And instead I became a statistician. But I scored a 27th percentile on my verbal. And somehow I still got into the University of Michigan. I don't know how that happened. But it also brought with me this notion that maybe I wasn't good enough. And so I struggled, you know, mentally, really, just thinking that I didn't deserve to be there. But because of my desire, I persevered. And working with others and getting the support of peers really helped. And I ended up having a great career. And I never gave up, regardless of whatever obstacles came my way. I found a way, and I advise everyone here to do the same thing. You might think that you have a threat in your career that's coming your way. You can 90% of the time flip that into an opportunity. So anytime you see a threat, say, how can I make that an opportunity? And believe me, it just opens up your whole mind to create creative ways to go to the next level and progress. So that's my advice.
Thank you, Director Santos. I think we can all relate to that, you know, being, feeling like you're not good enough, having a little bit of fear, you know, doubting yourself. And I agree, not ever giving up, but also never telling yourself no before others tell you no. Try it, even if you don't know whether or not you're going to be accepted or admitted or receive the interview. Just try it. One of the questions, because I know we're coming down to our time before we have our next speaker, that I wanted everybody on the panel and Director Santos to speak to is, You know, for everybody on the call that may be actually considering an internship or applying to a position with the Census Bureau, what kind of advice would you give them? Especially if they're not currently in the federal government and they see this huge thing called the federal government and they have to go through Usajobs. It can be discouraging. As Johanna mentioned earlier, you know, what kind of advice would you give folks that may be interested, but they're not exactly sure, you know, what they would be getting themselves into? We'll start with you, Director Santos.
Oh, thank you. I'll try to keep it short here. Believe it or not, the best thing you can do is to apply. You're not going to get the job or the internship unless you apply. And so that is the biggest step you need to take out of everything. That also goes along with the perseverance, et cetera. So I guess that would be my advice, to just like stick with it and apply and show your passion that this is something you really, really want to do. And don't worry about thinking like, oh, there's other people that are more qualified. It doesn't matter. What matters, I've had so many people in my career life that are so much smarter than me, and yet I would somehow seem to advance. And it wasn't because I was smarter. It was because I persevered and I tried and I enjoyed what I was doing. And so that's really a key. Just follow your heart and keep at it.
Thank you, Director Santos. What about any of the other panelists?
This is Walter. I just say nothing beats a failure but a try. So keep applying, keep trying, and success comes from failure. So don't give up. You know, just keep at it. Submit job requests or job interviews. Go to those if you get a call for one, and whether you get picked or not, keep trying until you get to the bureau and want to work with us. You'll enjoy it.
Thank you. And I'm getting a message. I think we've got some questions. I know we didn't get a chance to pause, but I'd like to open it up for Yumi, if there's anything that you'd like to share with the panel.
Yeah, there's one question that came in the chat. It says, thanks for allowing us to participate in this event. I am coming from a different discipline. What opportunities are available at the Census Bureau for someone who is coming from the nonprofit sector?
Thank you for the question.
I'll pose it to the panel. So actually,
yeah, go ahead, please.
So I came to the Bureau, as like I said, as an intern with a degree in education. And over my time at the Census Bureau, I mean, we do everything at the Census Bureau from preparation to publishing. And we work with everybody in between. And regarding a different discipline, you're going to run into people for the Census Bureau with a million different disciplines. And everybody and like the projects you pick up are going to help you move forward. The things you learn working with other people with these disciplines are going to help you move forward. I would say, as for everybody who's been saying, is just apply, just try. You don't know what's there. And there's a ton of opportunity at the Bureau. There's 10,000 people and everybody has a different job. You know, so it's a great place to be.
Thank you.
Hey, Stephanie. Do you mind if I would like to actually talk about the previous question and any advice that I could give to students to get a federal job. If I were to give advice right now, I would tell them definitely take the route that our colleague over here did by taking FAQs, the Washington Center. These are all organizations that help kind of bring interns into the department and into census. So. And another thing is start early. If you want to get into the federal government, I think it was mentioned that it's very hard to get into the government, right? So I think the best way is really start early through an internship, gain that experience, be able to have some meaningful experience on your resume, and then be able to qualify for other positions. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Carlos. And Johanna, any last thoughts, or would you like to ask the question? Any advice that you'd like to share with anybody interested in applying for one of our positions?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to my first answer to the first question. Again, along with those mentors and advisors, please attend those career day sessions. resume building sessions. Those are very, very helpful, and they'll tell you exactly what is needed for your resume to be picked on USA Jobs. I feel like as a college student, honestly, a lot of us did not take advantage when it came to those sessions and those seminars. And I know a lot of universities do offer them. If they don't, it's a lot of resources online that you can utilize. So please, please, if that was the advice that I could give, that would be my advice to everyone.
Thank you, Johanna. And so this closes our first panel. I want to thank all of our panelists, Director Santos, for spending a little extra time with us. I know how busy you are, sir. And we are going to close this panel, and we're going to invite Mr. Jerome Pryor to give a presentation on how you actually apply to internships and positions at the Census Bureau. So thank you all, everyone. Please stay if you can, but if not, we understand. Thank you for joining us this morning. So Jerome Pryor, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Mr. Pryor. He's the Chief of Talent Acquisitions Program Branch and Staffing and Consulting Services in our Human Resources Division at the Census Bureau. Mr. Pryor, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hey, on behalf of my Division Chief, Veronica LeGrand, and my ADC, Ms. Mary Michael, I'd like to thank Director Santos and Stephanie and our EEO partners for inviting us to this event today. I'm excited to be here today to share some information with you about different ways, different pathways to work or intern here at the Bureau. My team particularly has the privilege of working and to mine. And I say to mine because we look in every avenue, every hole, every cave, anything we can find the most valuable asset that we have here at the Census Bureau, and that's our talented folks. One thing that all the folks that were in the panel and talked about earlier, the one thing they have in common is that they were recruited through HR, and we're proud to find that such that you can see the type of talent that we bring in, and we're proud to wear that badge. So let me get to my briefing. I'm going to share my screen with you. So today I'm going to talk about the employment opportunities, where you can find them. I'm going to try to cut down some of that jungle where it gets a little confusing and a little bit hectic on trying to find the jobs through the Bureau. So I'm going to walk you through that process about that. And I'll talk to you a little bit about our intern programs that we have available. And I'll also talk about some paid graduate programs. After you get out of school, we have some opportunities here at the Bureau. And I'm also going to help you navigate the USA Jobs process. As one of the panelists said, it is quite, sometimes it can be quite overwhelming working through USA Jobs. So I'm going to give you some inside tips today on how to navigate that. And then I'm going to give you a couple resume tips, because we find that a lot of times it's not what you know, it's how you present it. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. So employment opportunities. Yes, is it hard to get in the federal government? Well, it's difficult because there's so many agencies and so many opportunities, and we're spread all over. But when it comes to the Census Bureau, we're going to try to make it easy for you to find us, and we're going to make it easy for us to find you. So the first site that you're looking at, and I have somebody that's going to put these links in the chat, is our Census career site. You'll click on that. And then when you click on once you get on that site, you're going to go to our apply to headquarters jobs. Now, if you click on that site right now, you're going to find jobs like economists, math statisticians, field reps, IT specialists, survey stats, program analysts, and computer science on that link. And that's just the start. We're putting up jobs every day, every week, every month that we're looking for folks. I mean, it's really an exciting time. You know, as many of you may not know, the federal government, the baby boomers, we're retiring here pretty soon, and we're opening up a lot of doors for people to walk through. And so we're looking for a lot of talent through our colleges, university, junior colleges, wherever that talent lies, we're going to find. We also have some opportunities in our field offices. We have 6 regional offices that are across the United States. And those are the people who are putting their feet on the ground every day to make some of these surveys happen. And when you click on that link, it's going to take you to a page where it's going to show you an individual on it. It's going to say field jobs by state. When you go to that site, you're going to see a little box there that says select a state. When you click on that box and you put in a state, it'll let you know all the jobs, and it'll have links there that you can apply for all the jobs in those states. And there's a variety of different jobs that they have in the regional offices that have to give you an opportunity to work here at the Bureau. The last link is for our National Processing Center, which sits down in Jeffersonville, Indiana. What's unique about it, right across the river, is Louisville, Kentucky. And so a lot of people didn't know that. And they do some fantastic work down there. And we also have a link to their jobs on our site. And when you click to those, and when you click on their links with all these, it will take you right to the U.S. job announcement. You do not have to drill down. You do not have to hunt and peck and find it out. All these will take you right to these postings where you can apply to a job. For those of you that may be persons with disabilities or veterans, we have a selective placement program, which we maintain. We house a database and we keep resumes, your Schedule A letters, and then your veterans documents. We keep all those on file. What do we do with it? Well, our managers who are looking to fill vacancies have access to that database. And even before they post the jobs, we get a lot of managers that work through that database and look through the resumes that we have there and pick out the jewels. And I think everybody that we have in our database are jewels. They just haven't been selected. But they go and they could pick out an individual, and you don't even have to wait for a posting. We can bring them on through some non-competitive appointments. And those things are great opportunities. So you'll be able to sit in your stuff. We will go ahead and house it. We'll let you know when you get it. And then managers can select you. And we're going to, hopefully we can get you a copy of these slides. If not, if you send us an email, and I'll show you that email at the end of my presentation, we'll make sure that you get this information. For persons with disabilities, you only need to send in your Schedule A letter signed by a licensed practitioner. If you're interested in some of our jobs like survey stat and economists and those things like that, or if you're interested in administrative specialists, even though we hire people who drive vans. So you can send in your transcripts. We always recommend if you have transcripts, send them. We have also recommend if you have transcripts for your bachelor's, master's, doctorate, whatever, send all of your transcripts. Do not hold anything back. Send everything. You'll send that information to this email address. And then, like I say, once we get your information, you'll get a confirmation email back from us letting you know that we have your information. If you don't, I'm going to give you my number. Veterans, same thing, same method because it's the same database. You'll send in your DD-214s. You'll send in your veterans letters and transcripts. Again, if you're interested in some of our professional series, same email box. And again, same process. We will make sure that we let you know that we have your material. Internship opportunities. Pathways is the premier paid internship throughout the federal government, really. Pathways allows a lot of opportunities because what it does is it's one of the few programs, and there used to be some back in the past, but they were transitioned to the Pathways program. The great thing about the Pathways is that you can work year round, or you can work during school breaks. You can work during the summer. You can work for the fall. Once you get hired, you don't have to reapply every year. We just put you on. You'll just be on we'll put you on paid, unpaid time, and then you'll just wait till you come back. You can work some full time. You can work part time with a minimum of 20 hours a week. But I will tell you this: our managers are great in the flexibility, because the one thing with the Pathways program is that we want you. The goal of the program is that you complete your education. That is the main goal of the program. We want you to do that by experiencing the federal government and opportunities that we have. So we're going to make sure that you get your schoolwork done. We're going to make sure that we support you in doing that. So we have a lot of flexibility in that. At the end of the program, you're eligible to be converted into either a temporary or a term or even a permanent career conditional appointment. And that is unique. That is a little bit different with any other intern programs that we have. Pathways can get you there. That's a path. And it's pathways, right? You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be 18 years of age. And you have to maintain a 3.0 GPA. I can tell you that we're looking at maybe lowering that, try to get to open and make it more broader for to get more students in. We want students from the junior college level, from starting the junior college level, whatever programs that they're in, we want to see we can get them through our doorways. And you must be in a program enrolled in a degree program, and that's under the Department of Education. To qualify for pathways, we don't get specialized experience. We do based on your academics, how you're doing in your academics. So we can, as a GS1, if somebody wanted a GS1, got to have a GED. So I'm not going to hit all these, but basically whatever academic level you are, that's how our managers will do to post for positions here at the Bureau. So that will qualify you. No long, you'll have to do anything additional. We have a couple other programs. Well, one more intern program that's a paid intern program, but this is our Emory program. And this is an economic and accounting related fields. And they do projects. They do a fantastic job. This is a paid internship. The only thing different with this internship, you cannot be converted into a career conditional appointment, but you will be a paid government employee and you'll have benefits and those things like that while you're in this particular internship program. Our graduate opportunities, we have the recent grad program. This is the other phase of the Pathways program. So once you graduate out of college, after you've been out, as long as you have not been out of school more than 2 years, you have an opportunity to be hired as a recent grad. And our managers will post these positions. I know they're in the process of even posting some more recent grad positions. It's a 1-year program. And while you're in this program, again, we want you in these programs, in all of our programs, even our interns, we do development. So we do some type of development at the intern level. But for the recent grad, we have some formal 40 hours of formal training that we do. It's development, time management, leadership. We have some programs that you go to, and you're also, that's your area that you're going to be working. They're going to have some training for you. Again, we want to try to develop you into the best you we can be, and so this is one of those programs. After you've been in this program for a year, you're eligible to be converted into a permanent position or a term position. And then again, most of our folks that go through our interns and most of our RG programs are all regular employees at this time. Recent grad program, you got to be a citizen, 18 years of age, and your graduate degree has to be, it can be anywhere. So recent grad, you don't have to just graduate from a college or a university. If you graduate from a junior college, and say you were junior college and like one of our panel members had a job, you were actually working, and you can get your experience, well, then that's great. That's one of those things where you can graduate from a junior college, but your work experience can qualify you to be in a recent grad program. And so those technical degrees, same thing. Vocational degrees, same thing. Because we hire based on your work experience, so that will help you to get into the recent grad program. We have a couple fellowship programs that we also offer. Again, these programs you cannot be converted, but some of these programs can go depending on the XD program is one of those programs. It's in it goes for a minimum of 13 months, but it can go up to 4 years. And there's a lot of opportunities to work on special projects with some of the top minds, and not only in the government, in the country. A lot of our people that we bring in, we have professors on board. We have other researchers that we bring in, but this is a great opportunity to work with some of the people on the leading in artificial intelligence and data science. It's a great opportunity if this is something that you want to do. Another one of our research programs is our postdoctoral program. Again, a postdoctoral research is a resident researcher and temporary employee of the Census Bureau. So you will be a regular paid employee. Most of these are, again, the work schedules are flexible, and you can get a 2-year appointment. They can be extended, but again, it's a great opportunity. Most of the folks here are people, like I say, that have been out in the fields that you're going in. They're great. There's a lot of creative research thinking that goes along with some of these fellowship programs. So it is a good environment for somebody who wants to kind of explore everything that you want to know about what we do here at the Bureau and how data is used and new ways and creative ways to use that data. Okay, let's talk about navigating the process. So everybody knows that you got that Usajobs is the premier vehicle that we use in the federal government. And so you have to go on there, you have to do create a profile. You can upload your resumes, and they have one on there that you use. I recommend that you kind of use theirs. That way you hit all the high notes, but you can upload your resume. To search on Usajobs, you click on this link right here. I have them put that in. It will take you for census jobs. So you won't have to go through the whole thing. You click on that link. It'll take you to any jobs that the U.S. Census Bureau have. To set up an announcement. So we're notifications of announcement. In Usajobs, you can go in and set up a template. So on 12 o'clock midnight, 1 second after midnight, you'll get a flyer from Usajobs to say this job is there. This link right here that we'll put in the box will take you to how to set up that alert. So you'll be able to set up those notifications in Usajobs. Resumes. All right, here's the secret. Here's the magic bullet on the resumes. Most private sector resumes, and where a lot of us go to resume writing courses and resume sessions, and most private sector resumes, they like to do the bullet format. Most of them are, not all, but most of them are about achievement driven. I've sold $20 billion worth of, paper or whatever I've done. It's all achievement driven. Content is kind of limited. Maybe most private sector resumes are maybe a page and a half, and they don't really go into detail because they wait till you get into your interviews, and then they do a lot of that information there. Ask you a lot of the details there. Federal government, a little bit different. Your resume should show a little bit more. It should show some demonstration of your work knowledge and skills and those abilities. And I mean, all experience is relevant in the federal government. There's one requirement law in the federal government as HR specialists when we're looking to qualify people is all information is relevant. So your resumes, anything that you've ever done, whether it was volunteer, whether it was with a nonprofit, all that experience is relevant when it comes to a position in the federal government. If you work for your church, you work for your youth center, and you did those things, put that relative information in there, and have that information focus on certain things like, if you work as a cashier at Walmart, it may not sound like a lot, but when you look at it, say the decisions that you make to how if you have a problem with a customer, your decision making, how do you deal with that customer, or how do you make your accounts right? Those things that you do not poo-poo them. Excuse my language. Don't poo-poo them to the side. Use those things. Identify those skills. Those are all skills that apply to working in a job. Your decision making, your ability to think on your feet. All that is relevant information. So when you're doing your resumes for a federal job, put that information in there. Say, hey, if you say I know how to use the software, say you can put a little bit How do you use that software? How do you apply that particular method? How did you, what do you use that skill for? So be a little bit more detailed in some of that, and that will help you with your resumes. The most times when I go to career events, and we go to a lot of them, we've probably been over to 20 events this year so far. We always tell the students that your resumes should tell some more about you, especially for the federal government. They really show what you can do and how you do it. That will help you navigate some of those waters on getting your way to the job, to get a job. All right, here's my information. Our email address is census.post.secretary@census.gov, and then in your email, in your subject line, you can put virtual university and college summit. But my job doesn't end here. Right now, my team and we're working to we're reaching out to colleges and universities all over the country to do these information sessions. We're trying to initiate volunteer internships with some of our managers to get college credit. It may not be paid, but what it does do is connect you to managers and to the bureau. So you're in that environment. You're working with folks, and even though you're getting college credit for it, it's an opportunity. And like one of the panelists said, when an opportunity comes, you grab it. So my job is to find where you are and bring you through those doors at the U.S. Census Bureau. It's a fantastic place to work. We have everything here. We even have intramural sports. I thought it was like college when I came in. Intramural sports and clubs and those things. So it's a great environment to work in, but it's a greater environment to develop your skills of whatever you want to be in your professional development. You can do that here at the Bureau. Stephanie, that's all I have.
Thank you, Jerome. Wow, that's wonderful. Very, very helpful information. I wish that I had an opportunity to participate in a presentation like this before applying to my internship. So I want to open it up for any questions that we've received during Jerome's presentation.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much, Jerome. So some of the questions we're getting, let's see. I am in the category of older persons. Do you have specific jobs available for this category of workers?
I'm an older person. Okay, so I'm an old person. So no, we have jobs for any age group. From, like I say, our pathway program goes from high school to till you're working on your doctor's degree. And we have a lot of people, whatever age group that fall in those categories. So no, there is no age group. I remember one story real quick. My mom was about 70, and she was like, "Oh well, the Census Bureau don't want to hire me. Won't want to hire me." About a month later, she called me and said, "I love the Census Bureau." She got a job with the Census Bureau. So I can tell you, it doesn't make a difference how old you are. We don't. Again, it's about what you want, what do you want to do, and how excited you are about getting it done.
Thank you. Next question. Can internships be done remotely?
Everything can be done remotely now. Everything can be done remotely. Most of our college events that we've been remotely. We're starting to go to some more in-person ones. But yes, that is going to, the one thing about the COVID crisis, it showed us where we have mobility and that we have flexibility. And as we move down the road, that's even going to get greater as we move forward.
Another question we got is, are the programs that you mentioned, the various internship programs, the special hiring authorities, are these closed for application currently? Are some of them open and some of them closed?
Well, the selected placement program, where you send in your, if you're a person on disabilities or you're a veteran, that's not an application. I mean, that's not an announcement. So we get 20 to 30 of those a week in our box. So we keep those forever. You know, the more we get, the more opportunity is for you to get in. Managers look through that. As far as the pathways announcements, we post our intern positions all year round. So we don't just try to get recruits in the summer anymore. We try to, when the managers have funding available, they will go out and for our pathways, for the Emory, they post 3 to 4 times a year. So there's opportunities there.
Thank you. Another question is, are these programs and jobs available to U.S. citizens who completed their education outside the U.S.?
As long as you have an evaluation of that education by there's certain companies that do those kind of evaluations. As long as you have it evaluated by those, it's good to go.
Good to go sounds good. Stephanie, do we have time for a couple more?
Yes, please do. We have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. One comment, my federal resume is 6 pages long. It's 12 years of experience. And they've narrowed it down to 3 pages, but they're told it's still too long or too detailed. Do you have suggestions as far as detailing narratives only in the positions that match the position, that match the description for the position being applied for? Or what are some ways that people can cut down their resumes if they're having length concerns?
Very, very good question. Okay, so when the federal government, when you go into a job and it says specialized experience, your resume should be tailored for that specialized experience. There is not a one resume fit all. That's what makes the federal government a little different, because we have that specialized experience. So what I would do is, if I targeted 3 or 4 different type of jobs that I want, I'd have 3 or 4 different type of resumes. And the information in that resume should target that specialized experience. Now, you're not going to have to do a lot of work from one resume to another. You just need to read that specialized experience and address what they're asking for as far as that specialized experience goes.
And can I add on to that, Jerome? I would say I receive a lot of messages through LinkedIn where people have found me interested in the work that I do, and I'm sure that other census employees receive them as well. And folks ask all the time, can you look at my resume? Can you give me comments and feedback? So if you all are interested in connecting, I would encourage you, to reach out through social media, find folks that are doing the type of work that you're interested in doing. Make the connections, ask them to look at your resume, have conversations with them. I think most of us are open to connecting like that. Any other questions, Yumi?
Actually, I think that's a good note to end on. Some of the questions are pretty specific. So Jerome, I hope we can have some of your time where you might be able to go into the Q&A and answer some of them directly.
All right. Thank you. Again, thanks a lot, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Jerome. So at this time, we are going to transition to our last chat. And I'd like to invite Mr. David Zaya and Dominic Beamer to turn on their cameras. Hi, Dave. Hey, Dom. So let me introduce you to these gentlemen. Mr. David Zaya, I call him Dave. Dave used to be my supervisor a long time ago when I started the Census Bureau. He is one of our senior executives, and he's the chief of the Office of Program Performance and Stakeholder Integration, and he's also a co-chair for our Diversity Council. So wave to the folks, Dave. And then Dom. Actually, I just met Dom. He's an assistant division chief for the Non-Response Evaluations and Experiments Division. He works for Decennial Census Management. So wave for the folks, Dom. So between these two gentlemen, they have hired thousands of people. Dave in his extensive federal career, Dom in his career in the Decennial Census. I want to introduce you to them, and I would like them to say a little bit about how they found their way to the Census Bureau before we start with the questions. So we'll kick it off with you, Dave.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate it. And yeah, Stephanie's very kind. She says extensive, but I've probably worked at the government longer than some of you guys have been alive. I've got a 30-year career now. I'm in my 31st year. So yeah, do the math. It's been a long time, but it's been a great run. And I started with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I worked there for 25 years before I came to Census in 2017 and got to work with great people like Stephanie. And, you know, I came as a chief administrative officer, and I'm the chief of program performance and stakeholder integration. And it's a great opportunity. You've gotten a lot of good advice so far, and I hope we can give you some more as we go through this panel. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dom.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to introduce me or not. I didn't know how that worked. Hi, everyone. Thank you for making time to come here. I will say the fact that you're here is pretty promising, because I think when I was coming out of college, I would have never thought to find an event like this and attend. So thanks for making time. I started my career in 2009 at the Census Bureau. So I've been here for about 13 years. I had a year where I left and went to Department of Labor for a bit. I think the question was how I got into federal service, and I will say I feel like I just got lucky, if I'm honest. I'm from South Carolina. I went to a small school there, and I couldn't imagine the Census Bureau wanting to hire someone, I guess, not from a very notable school, and whose GPA was like not the best, but it was pretty good. And so I applied to a few jobs in the government's division as a joke with a friend of mine. And when I got the phone call for the interview, I thought it was that friend. So I'm on the phone with the interviewer, and I'm like, "Are you messing with me right now, Gary?" And she was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And so I had to dial that back, you know, and realize that this opportunity had kind of happened. So I'm so thankful for my career at the Census Bureau. I'm sure many of you know the benefits of federal service, but most of all, the benefit is being a public servant for me. And so it's a really special opportunity, and you've already heard about how all of us love our jobs and love the Census Bureau. And I'm sorry to tell you, you're probably going to hear more of that throughout this session.
Thank you, Dom. So what I'd like to do, because I think everyone knows that you have to go to Usajobs, but with these folks on the call, they have an opportunity to hear from hiring officials. I mean, Dave, you sat in on many panels. I know that you have as well, Dom. You signed off on hundreds of application packets. I know, Dom, through Decennial, that means thousands of application packets that you signed off on. So what we'd like to ask you about is what makes people stand out to you, right? So my first question for you is, you know, I know a lot of people are nervous applying to a federal career or internship. And Jerome talked about, you know, a lot of the opportunities, things that people need to consider when they are developing their resume. What are some of the things that stood out to you in your experience that made a good resume? Something that you saw in that student. You know, even a lot of us didn't have a traditional route to the Census Bureau. We're not math stats, you know, but that made the candidate stand out to you. What were some of the characteristics of that resume or that student's written history that stood out to you?
I don't mind getting this started, Dave, if you want to dive in afterwards.
Go ahead.
Okay, so everything Jerome told you is very important. So you got to get through that first phase gate, which is like making sure your resume is about the job that you're applying for. And so make sure those qualifications are met so that a hiring manager can look at your resume and make a decision about hiring you. One thing that I look for is the story that the candidate is telling in their resume. You know, I think there are a lot of different ways to couch the experience that you have. I think Jerome spoke to that when he was saying, you know, folks who've been maybe a cashier somewhere, there are ways you could talk about the way you implemented the programs that you used or the systems there. And so I'm interested to see how they tell the story of themselves in the resume. And really, I really like reading the details of the different jobs that they have, because it gives me a sense of what they did, and it also gives me a sense of how they communicate. And in the position that I hire the most for, it's a program analyst position, so you spend a lot of time communicating with other people. And so that piece is really important to kind of shine through your resume. So I would just say as you're writing down that your experiences and how they serve the position, consider the story that you're telling about yourself as you're doing it as well. I think that personalization can really help draw a connection of all of the different pieces of who you are, academically, professionally, personally, in a way that makes it easier for a hiring manager to say, oh yeah, I have a clear picture of Stephanie, and she's going to be a great candidate for this position.
Thank you, Dom.
And I just to piggyback on that, Don's absolutely right. When I'm looking through resumes and seeing, I'm looking for the person. So I'm not just looking at a listing of things you've done, accomplishments you've achieved. I'm looking for, when have you stepped out? When have you taken on different opportunities? When have you maybe worked outside of your line? Have you been on, task forces, we call them in the government, or interdepartmental kind of working groups? I mean, have you volunteered to do things that are different than just your work and how you've gotten to know people, but that personalization, that telling that story, especially when, literally I've hired jobs where I've had over 100 resumes that we've had to go through and narrow them down to get folks on the best qualified list. And, after a while, the things that stick out are somebody that communicated, I know what you're talking about, I can deliver on this job, I've got this set of skills, and I'm not afraid to come in and figure it out and give you the best job that I can do. That all being said, I will tell you that one of my main pet peeves in seeing a resume is a resume filled with typos. And Stephanie's going to laugh at that because she knows I'm the editor. But please have someone other than you go over your resume and look, because you get so used to seeing the words on the paper, you don't even see some of the mistakes sometimes. But I guarantee you that hiring manager that's looking through that's going to see that and say, okay, what's that tell me about this person? So that's just one, like I said, it's a pet peeve of mine, but I just recommend folks do it and take a little bit of extra time and do it. But it really is about telling the story and how you as a person are going to come and contribute to what we've got and we're looking for.
Thank you, Dave. Now, I'm going to start off by making a comment, and then I'm going to circle around and I'm going to ask you all a question. So I was talking to one of my colleagues, Bethany DeSalvo, yesterday. And she wanted me to mention this because a lot of people psych themselves out of, when they're answering the questions on USA Jobs, when they're applying, they kind of downgrade their experience. And so when I was talking to her yesterday, she said, when you are applying on USA Jobs and you're doing the self-assessment questions, please make sure that you compare yourself to someone who went to high school with you and not someone that's like a graduate level student. So can you maybe speak to the folks on the call, like when it comes to, undergraduate students applying to positions, or maybe they're interested in working for both of you all. I have hired extremely talented undergraduate students before, and I'm sure that you all have as well. Can you maybe talk a little bit about, your experience with working with undergraduate students? Because I think that folks do sometimes psych themselves out of, applying, or they don't necessarily give themselves the credit. Similar to what Director Santos mentioned earlier on the call, that they just don't think that they're good enough to be with us. What are your thoughts?
Sure. You want me to kick off that one? All right. So, full disclosure, I'm a first-generation professional. I came out of a small rural town in Michigan called Standish. It's got 1,400 people, one stoplight in our whole county. Until I graduated high school. Then we added a second stoplight up the road. So, I came from rural America, and I went to Michigan State University. And Michigan State is a huge campus, and I loved it. But by the time I left, I could not walk around anywhere on campus with those 40,000 people and not see somebody that I could at least have a conversation with. Between my classes, between my work, study at the cafeteria, and just being an economics TA, in the economics department, I knew a lot of people, and I get to know a lot of people. And I think that when I'm looking at resumes, the undergraduate, the graduate, the doctorate, that's not as important to me as what you've done and where your life experience has been. I'm a senior executive. I only got my bachelor's degree. I don't have that master's degree. I don't have that PhD degree. I got the married degree instead. And that kind of took my life down a different path. I never went back. to school. But I mean, when I'm looking at your story, I'm looking at what you're saying, what your experiences have been. So I wouldn't let that enter into your mind. In the very fact that you applied for the job, you deserve to be there. You deserve to be looked at. You've earned it. You've made it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. I think getting just applying is a big success, because if you've tried to apply to a job on USA Jobs, you know how difficult that can be sometimes, to be very candid. And so getting in there is part of it. And I encourage everyone, not just undergraduate students, to use your network to help develop some of those things. I think, you know, I told you when I applied, I felt lucky that I got the job. And part of that luck was that I had a professor that was helping me with my resume. And he helped me, you know, tell my story in an articulate way that, truthfully, I wasn't really capable of doing at that age. And I think it helped explain my story in a way that a professional could understand the value that I brought to the team. So I would say, as much as you can, use your mentors or the people you look up to help you with that process. And as a hiring manager, I really value undergraduate students. If you're a grad student or the other things, I like y'all too. You're great. But undergraduate students have boundless opportunity ahead of them. And so the way that fresh energy dreams is very valuable for something like the Decennial program, where we make giant leaps every 10 years in how we're going to collect this data. And so I need dreamers on my team to help push the envelope and make sure that me, as I'm aging in my career, stay up to date on what makes sense. So I really value that, and I think it's important, if you're one of those younger applicants, to play up your flexibility and your ability to learn, because I think when I consider younger candidates, that's the thing I really value. I'm like, I know if I bring this person on, it's their first time in the professional world, which means their ability to soak up new information and create good habits and become great employees is very big for me. And so, like Dave said, I never really differentiate between undergraduates or graduates or any of that, because everyone has their own values. It's just finding a way to highlight those values as you're applying and communicating for these positions.
Thank you, Don. And I think you all both mentioned something really important, networking and relationships. And we know the way that translates to the application and the resume is through professional references. So I wanted to ask, like, can you share a little bit? Because I didn't use to, like, if you had known me like 15 years ago, you probably would have never thought I'd be on a call like this, because I was so shy. I was so bashful. Can you talk to the folks about, it's true, yeah. About how they can develop their network, because having that network of professors, you know, other professionals, mentors, people that you can put down on your application, your resume as professional references is really critical. I mean, you make it through the application process, you have experience, but we also call for references. And you need to have a good group of folks that are going to support your skills and talk about how great you are. What words of advice would you give to people who don't quite have a strong network base, who are trying to develop their networks and their relationships? How do they do that? How did you all do that?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot first, Dave. So I think this is a difficult question for me, because I think everyone's getting a sense of my personality just from this call. And so I am very open and talk a lot to a lot of different people. But I think there are a lot of opportunities to make a new connection. This is one of them, right? You've gotten a few folks information, and it may start as reaching out to Jerome about a specific thing and turn into something else. And so I think it's keeping your mind open to areas where you can network. And then also keeping your mind open to who those references can be. I know when I was applying, I would have never considered like folks from my church as being a good reference for me. But as I've been a hiring manager, I've had people with those type of references that have really spoken to like the character and work ethic of a potential employee in a way that is really helpful for them. And so considering the network that you do have and ways that you can talk to those people and ask them how they can serve you. I will say that is one other thing. If you list someone as a reference, make sure they know that you listed them as a reference. And it's even worth talking with them about what they might want to say about you when they have that phone call. Oftentimes, I will reach out to a reference who doesn't know that the candidate listed them as a reference. And that can be a little startling as a hiring manager to think, oh, man, they're saying nice things about this person, but it doesn't seem like their communication with each other is really, that current. And so those are things to consider. Dave, I don't know if you had more to add.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because with your references, it's very important that you let your reference know because when I've gotten cold called from someone, it's like, the person did great. I may not talk to this person in 2-3 years. And you try to figure out, okay, what are you looking for? What are you relying for? I mean, I know this person from a lot of different perspectives, but what's going to help that person in this job? Is it her communication skills? Is it her organization skills? Is it her this or is it her that? And that helps if you have that conversation with your references, say, I'm applying for this job. This is what the specialized experience is looking for. And, these are the things that I think I've done very well in. And, would you concur in that? And, could you reinforce that? That's not a bad conversation to have with your references. I also like to look at like the professional associations or, clubs that you've been in. There's a little spot in the federal resume where it talks about, associations, whether you're in, the honor society or the local chess club or the ski club or whatever it is. That gives me, again, a flavor of the story of you as a person, not just a piece of paper coming across my desk. Because there have been people where, they've been condo board association presidents or members, and you go and you make a reference check on that, and those people will tell you, this is what this person did and how they, in some cases, handled some very sensitive issues. So those are great opportunities. It doesn't always have to be work related that you have your references involved with. So, one other thing to keep in mind is that when you are looking for references and doing reference checks, make sure that you are fully engaged with the person that you're employing on the resume. It's not really just, hey, I'm going to list you, Stephanie, I'm applying for a job tomorrow. I'm going to list you as a reference. Is that okay? And Steph says, yeah, sure. It's like, I'm expecting Stephanie to say good things about me. But what the person doing the reference check is looking for is someone that's also going to give you a balanced view of that person. The references that I've done that I've respected is, well, you know what? Yeah, this person's done a good job, but I'm going to tell you right now, she's not going to suffer any fools. She's going to be a little strong-headed sometimes. She's going to, and I'm not seeing you, Stephanie, just general example, because I know you're bashful. But this is an opportunity for you to drill a little bit further in and say, okay, what kind of person am I getting here? As a hiring manager, and Stephanie's right, I bet you in my career, I've hired at least over 100 people. And the ones that stick out for me are the ones where I'm getting an honest assessment from folks. And what I like to hear is that balanced approach. And I'm not looking for anybody to be perfect. Yeah, definitely not looking for that. But if someone tells me that I've got someone who's going to take a problem and really drive it home and make sure they're working to get it done, all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, they may upset a few people along the way. That's going to tell me something that I know that I want to have that full information before I have to experience it on the job. So, be honest with your references and please ask them to be honest about you as well. I think I'll leave it there.
So I want to pause because you all have shared a lot of really good information with us, and I want to see if we have any questions in the chat.
Yes, some of the questions we're getting are, Are there any professional or interpersonal skills that the Bureau values across the board?
Yeah, I mean, across the board, I'm going to say good communicators, good analysts, people that can look at problems and figure things out and propose solutions, good team players. You know, I mean, we all rely on each other. I mean, the Census Bureau does have a little bit of a stovepipe mentality. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We have directorates, and they focus in their areas. You got an econ directorate, we got a demographic directorate, we got a decennial directorate. They naturally focus on their areas, but we are, as an enterprise organization now, moving more towards that collaboration and being able to talk across the silos and be able to work with each other and you know, build bridges. From that perspective. So we're looking for those kind of folks that are able to be able to do that in a way that is both professional and engaging and supportive of one another. So I would say those are kind of the skills. And Dom, I don't know if you have any other thoughts to that.
Yeah, I think the director mentioned this a couple of times in his introduction, but really critical thinking is really applicable in all of the positions at the Census Bureau. And I think especially in the Decennial Directorate, there are a lot of different inputs, and it really takes someone being able to ingest all of the things there are to learn, and then come up with some ideas about solving a problem. And so critical thinking is a big piece of that. And then I know just generally in our area, being able to take a task from start to finish is very important. And so it invariably speaks to your project management skills. So even if you don't have project management training, just showing in your resume that you have taken something from nothing to something else can be very valuable in making sure that your resume is getting looked at in the way that you want it to be.
Thank you, Dom. Any other questions, Yumi?
Yes, you gave some really good feedback or good tips about how we should engage with our references and how we should give them a heads up and how we should select references that can best represent us. Should we automatically include references with our resume, even if not required or requested?
I don't mind taking a first swing at this. Yeah, definitely. So what I like to do when I apply to a job, so, you know, you have your Usajobs resume, which is typically pretty long. You're kind of explaining all the details of every job. And I like to attach like a Word document that has a shortened version of my professional experience and academic, you know, of my resume, I'll just say. And so in that, I include my references as well. So I definitely suggest doing those two things, because as a hiring manager, whenever we do receive your resume, it's great to have, you know, that brief introduction of like who you are as a person in that Word document, and then those details. And then again, another thing that wasn't asked, but I think a cover letter is really great too. And I know that makes applying for a job hard, right? We're talking about specialize your resume for every position, write a cover letter for each one. But again, it's about the story that you're telling. And so you can take all of that experience in your resume and tell your story in this cover letter. Let us know where you come from, why you're interested in this position, what really motivates you. And a lot of those things are going to be the same across whatever job you apply to. Maybe you make small tweaks here and there. But when I get applicants who submit a cover letter, it's much easier for me to get a sense of who they are from a first glance than someone who just submits, you know, their Usajobs resume.
Another question.
I just say ditto.
Oh, sorry. Ditto? That's all you got to. Okay.
Ditto. That's perfect.
It's a strong answer, right? Another question we got, and I'm not sure if you can answer, I don't think you can answer this over the panel, but maybe you can send something to Stephanie to include when the slides get sent out. There was a question about examples of resumes. Are there examples of resumes that have been well written for federal positions that could be shared with this audience?
I think one of Jerome's links had a like a Usajobs or somewhere OPM citation about applying for federal jobs. I think there are some pretty good examples on that. I don't know that there's a good sample per se, because, you know, a resume is so personal in some regards. I mean, in order to make something like that, I mean, other than like the redaction and the privacy and all that kind of stuff, I think that'd be pretty hard to do. But I think if you go and you look at those resources that Jerome had put out there, I think there is one that talks about, you know, how you better structure a federal resume and that kind of stuff. And that's probably the best example that we could give.
Yumi, we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
All right. I only see one more at this point that's specifically for you guys. I've only recently completed my first internship, but also have never officially volunteered or worked before. Will this small amount of experience negatively impact me? Would it be better to gain more experience before applying?
I'd say it depends on the position that you're looking for. So one thing I do when I'm job searching in the government, which hasn't been in a while, but in either case, is I like to look at the different occupational series that I might qualify for, and so that'll give you a sense of, you know, whether your professional experience or academic experience is enough to get you into the door. And so I like to look at those. And then once you find the occupational series that makes sense, you can find that, you know, at the agency of choice, which should always be Census. And you can find it there to apply. And I think depending on the position, so some positions at certain levels require less experience than others. You know, not having work experience is not necessarily a ding on your application. I'll just hark back to what Dave and I were saying at the beginning, which is, you know, a new person coming into the Bureau or an undergraduate provides a lot of value to us that maybe isn't as objective as you might have from someone who has a lot of experience. And so I think, again, playing up the experiences that you do have is a good move, even if part of it is a project you worked on during school that required a lot of time and effort. I know in my resume, when I first was starting out, I worked on a paper with a professor, and I referenced that as some work experience because he and I spent a lot of time outside of the classroom, you know, reading books, trying to figure out the best way to do this research paper. And so think of other ways that you can talk to your experience. Again, I think it's all about storytelling. So the story that you tell is going to be very important to how you are received. And so, you know, as you're thinking about your experience, you can go out and get more experience if that's going to make you more comfortable to tell a story. But if you have enough, get in there, give it a shot.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dom. Thank you, Dave, for taking some time out of your schedule to be here with us this afternoon. We're 1 minute out, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank 2 ladies behind the scenes, Mayumi Escalante and Jenny Aramoni, who've been looking in our chat and responding to all of you all's very thoughtful questions. I want to thank the team and of the special speakers, our panelists today, for taking time to share their insights and wisdom with you all. I want to thank Director Santos and our Deputy Director, Ron Jarman, who joined the call earlier today as well. You all have our contact information. You have our names. You know how to find us. I'll also be sending out Jerome's slides after this call. This concludes our very first Census Bureau Virtual Summit, and we look forward to seeing you all again and having this in the future. Thank you all so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.